I'd like to begin with just a little bit of housework before I introduce, or house cleaning before we introduce our guest. This past weekend, I was in Philadelphia with the Flat Out Friday crew. Warren, you weren't there, but what did you see?
I saw some fun on the internet. Looked cool. I like the fact that the cops came. That's a welcome thing around us. Keep pushing the limits and see where they take you.
Yes. So I'm going to summarize for you, and then I'll summarize for everybody. Freddie, there is a famous, or not famous, that's so bad, a pro that we sponsor, a pro motorcycle racer. The season was over, and he asked, would you throw a party at my parents' house with mini motorcycles in the yard? Great. Never been there, but we flew to Philly and went to his parents' house and set up a motorcycle track in his yard. And now imagine the equivalent of like Delafield, like a subdivision. It wasn't out in the country by any stretch.
Right.
It was property lines in the suburbs, and we did a motorcycle race in the yard. The cops did come immediately.
Do you know which house is the squeaky wheel?
Well, people were drinking at the Smith family, Cameron Smith's family, and that's not a criticism at all. I just don't think they had a true zoom out to solve the problem that way. They just kept saying things will be fine. Mm-hmm. But cops aren't always fine. I mean,
Yes, I do.
So we compromised a 9 o'clock curfew for that. Although the motorcycles, I didn't think were as loud as our music, which went till midnight.
Sure. Oh, whatever. As long
Someone
as
was upset about the motorcycles, and but the race was one thing. It was going to Philly, seeing the World Series win, having a cheesesteak.
Where'd you go?
Although I'm a strict vegetarian.
Which place did you go? Did you not?
I didn't go to the famous places. After they had won Game 1 of the World Series, we had went into the streets. And I'll tell you this: what's the term when you wear like a Halloween costume and it's not appropriate? Cultural misappropriation, is that what that's called?
Sure.
Yelling Phillies in 6 it didn't cross reference. It was cultural misappropriation for me to be yelling in the streets of Philly, Phillies in 6. They were really offended by that. The point is,
they won it in 3.
They were like, Phillies in 4, you asshole. Phillies in 6. Anyway. It's a joke. I thought it was hilarious. Philly did not. We spilled out into the streets, and we bought a cheesesteak from a food truck. And my offense to the city didn't stop there because it had New Jersey plates on it. And that was really, I almost got it slapped out of my hand when I turned to eat it. That truck is New Jersey plates. So it wasn't a true cheesesteak by definition, according to someone
over yourself,
from Philadelphia. Yes. Well, we had a great time in Philly. We have a guest here in our lead-based building. This is Freddie. Freddie, I know you as Freddie, but I know you like Freddie as Cher or as Prince or as Madonna. You have a name? You have a last name?
Blackula.
Okay, of course it is.
No, last name Franklin, like Aretha.
So Freddie Franklin.
Yeah.
That's
FF.
great.
Yeah, Frederick Todd Franklin, to be correct.
That was the 14th president.
That would be me.
Well, before we begin, we learn a little bit more about who you are. Pause that, because today is your birthday.
Happy motherfucking birthday.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you.
I was wondering why there was no mail service. And as it turns out, it's Freddie Thomas Franklin's birthday. So there was the banks were closed.
No Thomas, Frederick Todd.
Oh, Todd.
T's for Todd or terrific.
Todd. Well, I was trying to figure out why there was no banks. The banks are closed, and now I realize that was because
I'd
of
like
your
to
birthday.
introduce my friend Jeremy Prock. His names are not his forte.
Oh, that is true. And I'm a teacher, too, by the way.
Oh, my goodness.
But I want you to know that I stopped and got you something.
Oh, that's kind.
You seem like a fancy guy. Is that fair?
By definition, I guess.
I bet you your socks are in order.
Some.
Yeah. I bet your sink is clean.
Most of the time.
Yeah. And your shit is just in order. The opposite of how I'm living. And I appreciate you being a fancy person. So I went to that super fancy store in Mayfair. Do you know that fancy store in Mayfair?
I don't.
What's the fancy store in Mayfair?
No idea.
Give me any fancy store.
GameStop?
Williams Sonoma?
William and
fancy
Sonoma?
store? Is that a fancy store?
Yeah, but that's for cooking utensils.
I guess fancy for
Dishes.
some.
Okay, well, that's where I went.
I mean, the dollar store is fancy to me, so.
No, I didn't go to the dollar store. I didn't go to the dollar store. So here, I got some stuff at this fancy store. And I didn't want to just say happy birthday.
Thanks for all that you do. I thought that was appropriate.
Well, that's pretty incredible.
And there's some candy in there that might be missing, but the thought that counts is it was at one time full of candy.
Good job, Prod.
Appreciate that.
But thanks for all you do, because the point is that you come to bike nights, and a bold statement, you are the bike night. Is that fair?
Yeah, you make a statement whenever you go.
Well, that's bold and appreciative.
You bring something to the lexicon or the culture, the community. You bring something. When you go to bike night, if any other bike night there was, it's pretty generic bike night. But I know when you go to bike night, people are like, "Did you see that guy with that street glide? What is it?
Yep, Street Glide, FLH XS.
With the skull, forged skull,
Yes, cast.
cast skull." And tell me more about this bike.
Well, it's a cast headlight, derby cover.
Do the lights come out the skull?
There are headlights
But
in the skull. The actual eyes are LEDs. Great for viewing in the country roads.
So what year is the bike?
14.
And you customize it on what other ways?
In terms of leather work, the seats custom, saddlebag covers. Got basically an exotic farm. Alligator, ostrich, elephant. Got it laced in kangaroo.
Okay, we've never had anything like that here. Have we, Warren?
No.
Are you? I'm going to say this, Warren. I think you're secretly fancy yourself.
Of course.
Yeah, I've seen his swag. He's fancy.
It pops out every once in a while. It's hard though, man, when you got dirty fingers all the time.
Yeah.
But that's swag.
Sure. Yes.
Tell me more. What does swag mean?
Well, swag is you.
Swag is you.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's swag is different, but we all have it. Kind of like motorcycles, we build bikes. It's rolling art. May not be beautiful to you, but it's beautiful to the
Have
artist.
you been practicing this interview before we did it?
No, man, this is the culture, baby.
Freddie, how'd you get into bikes, man? Like, give us some backstory. Like, where you come from?
Yeah, I come from a small town in Iowa called Waterloo, a couple hours north of Des Moines. Grew up next to a motorcycle club and a bar. So bikes, babes, and booze is what I grew up
Born
on.
into it.
Yeah.
You're sitting on them bikes, them choppers, and
I wasn't
looking at
sitting on
titties
them, but I was seeing the choppers and I was seeing the boobs.
That's
And
cool.
So, yeah, grew up hearing the noise, and for me, bikes were everything because it was kind of wild and radical, and I grew up in the '60s and '70s, so it was kind of like do your own thing and see guys riding choppers and having fun. That's kind of how I got into it.
I want to go back to the scene in Waterloo. It was an MC. Like, what was the thing?
Yeah, they had an MC there, small black club. And so, being in the neighborhood, that's what you see, black riders, and they were doing choppers like everybody else, just a small community.
Was there industry in Waterloo?
Yeah, at the time, it was industry like Raft Packing House, huge meat packing company, John Deere Tractor Company. So we're agriculturally based.
Sure.
We build bikes and raise hogs.
There was a middle class there at that time, a growing middle class.
Well, at that time, it was pretty polarized.
Polarized
segregation was pretty prevalent at the time, and most of the folks that came to that community were coming from the South, finding work on the railroads and in the packing houses and starting new lives. So it was, for most of us, it was kind of the new beginning.
What brought you to Milwaukee then from Waterloo?
Well, not from Waterloo. I mean, work kind of took me all over the country, but my mother got sick, and my parents needed some help. So I left Orlando, came here to Milwaukee, started living here and getting into that vibe.
So your mom and dad lived in Milwaukee?
Yeah, my mom actually lived in Des Moines, Iowa. My dad been living here since Vietnam.
Okay.
So when she passed, I came up here to provide some support. been here ever since.
Is your dad still alive?
He's still alive, turned 80 in July.
Was he a biker?
He was, a little bit.
So then you come from a supportive family. Motorcycles are a thing.
To a small degree.
Sure.
I mean, there was a love for it, but not many people had them because, it was hard to build bikes back in those days,
Sure.
getting parts and things like that. So there was a genuine love, but I'm kind of really the first in the family to take it as a hobby, make it mine.
Sure.
Yeah.
What do you do now?
By trade, profession, I'm an employee relations manager, investigate harassment and discrimination claims, things
Sure.
like that.
Sure, you seem like you're well suited for that position.
We are into the details.
You gotta have to have a lawyer mind for that, or an investigative mind.
Oh, absolutely. You do a lot of research, and that's what's helped me with my bills. In particular, that 77 FLH
Yeah.
that's sitting at the museum.
Yeah, I only mentioned one of your motorcycles that I know of.
Yeah, I mean, when you rolled up on that thing for Mama Tried and your big jacket and the gloves and that thing's rad. It's just an aura about you when you pulled up. Probably the only guy that showed up on a motorcycle.
Yeah, I think it was the only guy that rode up, and I had to have that mink coat on, though.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We got to find some pictures of that and drop that into the video. Yeah, I think Scott has some.
But hang on, but hold on. Like I'm not done talking about your upbringing and stuff. I got a couple more gifts here. You seem like a fancy guy here, so
Got the sweets for the sweet.
yeah. I also got you some organic blueberries. I thought those were pretty fancy.
Now you're talking my language. That's how we keep that high school figure.
And and I didn't want anybody to leave your party.
And I got some caramel apples. So,
My favorite.
but so you grew up in Waterloo. I mean, I just want a little bit of a deeper description of what drew you to the motorcycles. You saw them in the neighborhood.
Well, I mean, you see movies like Easy Riders, things like that. Man, that was cool back in the day. Everybody wanted a chopper. And so, for me, my first bicycle, for a while I lived in Denver, Colorado, lived in the Five Points. Back in the 70s, the Five Points was a pretty rough area, mostly dominated by Puerto Ricans. And I had a young friend named David Diabolos. We were 10 years old at the time. We built my first chopper, which was a 5-speed, where we took some card table forks and extended the forks to the bike and created my chopper, the sissy bar and everything.
like one of them folding card table things.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, the fold card table.
So it was one of the Schwinn,
The
Stingray,
Stingray 5-speed, green with banana seed, And so that was really kind of my first bike, and from that point, again, you're hooked.
Sure.
I just got to the point now where you're old enough where you can buy what you want.
So you don't fabricate specifically?
No, I don't fabricate specifically. I have a vision, and then I collaborate.
Yeah. Well, the vision is most of it. Is that fair, Warren?
Yeah, I'd say so, for sure. And then if you're in that position, you got to find the right guy or gal to work with, right?
Absolutely.
To be able to execute that vision, which is
That's
always
half
a
the
hard
battle.
time.
Yeah, because everybody has their own vision, and to be able to find that compromise, because there's
Compromise is a
realism
good
into
way.
it too.
Yeah.
You may have a vision, but it may not work for that bike,
Yeah.
and so at that point, it's finding that happy medium.
Yeah, both sides have to bend, and you have to be cordial and understanding, right? Like you're not going to find the perfect guy or gal to do it unless you do it yourself. Right?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
there's always push and pull for sure.
But very little pull on my part, because again, for me it's the vision, and then I give it to the artist, and so, you build relationships where people understand who you are, what you're about, and then it just comes to fruition.
Sure. I kind of feel that way if I get a tattoo. I investigate someone, let them meet me, talk to them, tell them my vision, and then they do the tattoo. And I don't want to micromanage the details. However, I've got a lot of really bad tattoos.
Got to do more homework, baby.
My point is, when you do that with you have this idea for the skull that you had a cast for the front. Were there other ones that were thrown out and didn't make the cut? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean it's all organic. Initially the bike the Street Glide Special was built with Willie G parts. And my friend said, "Hey man, we can do that on steroids," and so it just kind of grew from there. Never thought about having the creases in the skulls or knocking out the teeth, but those are things I think about now. So, it just continues to evolve.
Sure. So you said it continues to evolve, meaning do you have other projects you want to do, or is this bike completed?
I have projects in my mind, you know.
Can you tell us briefly one of them?
Well, yeah, right now I'm really wanting to do a chopper. And like I told you before, that was my first bike build. And at some point I want a rad chopper because that's what I love. So I've got something in my mind.
Tell me what's in there. Tell me, just give me, because I don't have the vocabulary that Warren does. Tell me, what does it look like? Is it high?
I would say that it's black and it's proud.
Okay, bold statements.
You can't go wrong with black, ever.
Right.
Skinny?
Definitely. I'm slim. So,
Smart.
you know, one of the things I've always tried to do is I dress for my bikes. So I build the bike first.
Okay.
And then I find clothing to accent the bike.
Okay.
Well, that mean
And
coat's
so-
perfect for that FL.
Yeah, exactly. And so just like with Chopper, in terms of my physique and the kind of style that I have, I would expect it to be slim and long. I expect it to be dark, you know, and eclectic.
Okay.
You should sit on my knucklehead.
Yeah,
I think you like that one.
definitely.
So
That's the dream machine.
So don't tell me about the motorcycle. What are you wearing? Tell me what outfit. You don't know because the motorcycle's not built yet.
It'd be black.
You'd have to see the motorcycle and you'd say, oh, I know what would go with this, and then you'd go shopping and come back.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, part of building is being neutral and being able to kind of morph into whatever. So when we talk about organic, when I think about black, you can wear anything with black. It doesn't matter. It's still cool day or night, right?
Sure.
So you could wear gray, you could wear white, you could wear whatever. It's just what's the mood, what's the event. The bike is going to be the showpiece. I'm just accenting it. That's how I ride. You know, I'm never the focus. In my opinion, it's about the bike. If I can lure you into that bike and start having dialogue about what's going on in the world and things like that, then goals met.
Yeah, it turns into a social experiment, right? Like
Yeah.
the motorcycle is always the right? Like,
Right.
Let's go look at that.
Let's go
But then
talk.
it always turns into something better.
It turns into something better.
Yeah.
That's the culture. That's the swag. And so when we build bikes, swag is right there because there's somebody always coming and talking to you about your bike.
Didn't that motorcycle get you connected with the Alice Cooper boys?
Absolutely.
pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
So they saw your swag.
Yeah, it was all the swag, the bike, whatever, that aura that you present, you know, riding through the Brewtown, down in the Deer District. He happened to be here hanging out and said, hey, want to get together and
Yeah.
hang out.
Alice Cooper
One of the bass player for Alice Cooper, Chuck Garrett.
saw you and was like, hey.
Yeah, saw me ride and said, hey, you know, hit me on IG and said, hey, let's get together. I'm in town, want to ride. I said, of course.
Coincidentally, my old man is basically a super fan, right? So like all
he
these
know the
things
bass
can work
player?
out. I can maybe potentially make my old man's dreams come true. You can drop dead right there.
Yeah, we actually tried to. Just timing wasn't right?
Yeah.
We were going to have him come to Louisville to Kiss in an Alice Cooper concert.
Okay.
But we got a rain check for him.
Yeah, be quiet. Does he know?
Yeah, he knows.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like talking to your old man about music
Yeah.
because you could see sparks up when he talks about the 70s.
Yeah,
rock.
there are a few things that get the old guy riled up, and music is one of them
Yeah,
for sure.
that's really great to see.
Yeah.
You talk about swag as who you are. I walk on my tippy toes. You know what I mean? Is that swag?
Yes, it's your swag.
But how about this? But we're going deep here now. I don't want to walk on my tippy toes. I want to walk on my shoulders out, and I want to look mean. Should I just be me, or?
Well, try it and see what it gets you.
It's gonna get you in an uncomfortable spot, right? Like mentally, it's not gonna work. You do you because it's natural.
I just got to keep. I'm just gonna walk on my toes and kick in the door.
Just own it.
And do like you've been doing. I've seen you out there flat out Friday doing your thing.
Wear a
That's
hole in the
swag.
floor.
Okay.
That's swag. You didn't pretend.
Okay, I appreciate that. Well, we were talking just a little bit about music, real quick, and I got a couple other things I want to ask you about culture and community because you have an extremely zoomed out sense of things. We talked with Michael Lang last week, and I think he's got an extremely zoomed in thing about the minutia of the motorcycle and the performance and chopper, how things fit. you see this as culture. And even before I talk about music and stuff, which I wanted to ask you, how is this different than car culture, though? Let me ask that first. Because everything you said, I was thinking snowmobile culture, car culture, skateboard culture could all use the language you just used. Separate motorcycles.
I think the difference with motorcycles is they're more intimate.
Way more.
You know, I mean, one, you don't have a shell around you protecting you. You're in there cutting your knuckles when you're working on it. You know, you're looking at every detail. I mean, that bike becomes your life. And so, you know, that kind of intimacy you don't find in cars. I mean, in the car culture, I mean, I got a Corvette and I got a Ram truck and all that, and I'm into my vet, you know, and that's a culture too, right? But it's different. And it's the intimacy, it's the camaraderie, and, you know, and that in and of itself.
Yeah, accessibility to motorcycling is larger too, so it makes the pool of people
So much better.
Yeah, it makes the much more well-rounded, I guess, when you compare it to cars.
Is that fair? I want to compare it to the Corvette culture. Is that fair? Is motorcycling is the culture more well-rounded?
I would think so. I mean, when you think about, we first start out on a bicycle, it morphs into just a super bike, right? And so for most of us, we've always been on two wheels. It's what we know. And, you know, we don't get into four wheels until later.
Sure.
Two wheels is our entry into that.
Yeah, you gotta have a big enough garage for a second car.
Yeah.
So it's more cathartic. It's more connected to our nerve center.
Well, people that are riding motorcycles versus cars are a different animal, right? Like maybe a little bit more thrill-seeking, a little bit more open, a little bit more willing to be uncomfortable.
Be uncomfortable.
Right? Like that's because
Because you're going to be uncomfortable.
Oh,
You're going to
absolutely.
get caught in the elements. You're going to get wet.
Yeah, your
Get
ass is
hot.
gonna hurt. Like it's
You're going to fall.
Yeah.
You know.
You're gonna break down on the side of the road and be stuck and have to be, just have to figure it out. But
Absolutely.
I like the people that it attracts because it's resilient. It's willing to be open and try and just put themselves out there. You know, I appreciate that, and I need motorcycles because they help me put myself out there.
Oh yeah,
Right.
it's a different vibe when you're riding on a bike than in a car. And Randy Detroit Hayward from Detroit told me one time when I first got into the cycling game, guys were sitting on people's bike and dropping bikes, and I'm getting all upset. And he was like, "Blackula, if we break it, we fix it."
Yeah, Randy's really good.
That was the first time
Randy's
it
great
made
about that.
sense to me.
Yeah,
Man, we'll take care of it. Don't worry about it, man. This is what we do.
yeah,
And man, at that point, I was in.
yeah. Well, you had
You knew you
great
had help.
mentors.
Sure.
You run into a guy like Randy early on in any kind of, whether it's motorcycling or cars or whatever. You run into a guy like that, it definitely changes the aspect or your trajectory in that, subject for sure. Because he has a great outlook on how things are. He's great to talk to, and we need to get him into the bomb lead proof shelter.
The lead
Have
room.
him chat. It's cool. It's great to know that you were mentored by him or however you want to call
Inspired.
it.
Yeah, no, inspired. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And Mama Tried for that matter. I mean, you guys put me on the map. You saw me and welcomed me like I was part of the family. And it was all about the bike and the person. One thing I've seen in your videos, like you said, we're looking for the people, the whole vibe.
Sure.
A holistic view of the person and the bike. And that's the culture.
Yeah.
I'm glad you picked up on that.
I mean, it is what it is. And you guys created that. And
Don't tell our secret, everybody.
everybody.
Don't tell our secret.
It's funny that you thought we were special because I think we thought you were special. Like, whoa, how's this guy blowing into our town? How's this guy coming into?
You ever talk to any of the Haints from Alabama?
No,
Do you ever hear? You know what a Haint is?
no.
It's like a southern ghost. So it's a folklore type of thing, right? And they started their club. I shouldn't say club, but little group, and they call it the Haints because in Alabama the scene wasn't very prevalent back when they were starting to get on choppers, and every once in a while they see a dude roll by on a badass bike, like who the hell's that guy? And that's where the Haint thing came from. It's like it's a Haint,
Oh, okay.
right? So it's like it's it's cool to to know that because right, eventually they all just found each other. You know, that's what motorcycles do. Is it brings people together.
As big as the motorcycling world is, it's really a small network of people too. Small, intimate group of people.
Especially Milwaukee.
It's just a lot of subsets. Oh, this is the Mecca.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Really? Not L.A.?
Man, you go anywhere in this country and you hear about bike night and Mama Tried and things like that. Nobody does it like the Brew City. Period.
You ever been to another city?
Oh yeah, I've been to a lot of the cities.
Give me Memphis.
I mean, I've been to Memphis. I've been to Atlanta. I've been to Detroit.
with your bike.
With my bike, and they don't ride like we ride here. I mean, they ride. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they don't ride, but the vibe is different. Here, it's more family. It's more friendly. You know, like you go down to the museum. Don't matter what colors are there. Everybody gets along. That's sacred ground.
Mm-hmm.
It's respected. It's just the way it is. You don't get that vibe in other places. I have gone and had Milwaukee stuff on my vest or something, or had that FLH, and people that would normally have addressed me have welcomed me because, hey, I saw you at the museum or something like that.
Sure.
No, we ride a whole different way.
I remember being in Memphis on bike night, and there was a real formality to it. I mean, if you know what I'm talking about. I don't know if you were at Memphis or Beale Street.
Beale
bike night?
Street.
And there was a king and queen, and there was like this procession.
Yes.
And yeah, we don't ride like that because I don't know what they were doing. But it was very formal.
Their swag.
Yeah, it was their swag. Okay.
New Orleans swag.
Real quick, I asked you, because you're highlighting how important dressing is part of riding. Hey, tell me a little bit more. I'm zooming out a little bit about culture, and so tell me a little bit about music.
Well,
Is that
I mean,
part of it?
Absolutely. Music, like fashion. I mean, you go look at some of the old books in the 60s and 70s, people rode and dressed up nice when they were riding.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Husband and wife, boys and girlfriends, there were fashion shows with motorcycles.
Especially the black clubs, man. Like everybody was dressed to the T.
Yeah, you get dressed and you go out. I mean, it's a day to celebrate you and what's going on, right? And so for me, that's a tradition I always took pride in. My dad was in the military, shine your shoes, make your bed, iron your shirt, those kinds of things. And I respect that because it's respected, right? And, people found it weird that I would ride with a bow tie or with a tie, but people respect looking nice on your bike. And I tell people, you don't have to dress like I dress, but if you dress, people will acknowledge that.
Sure.
And they do. People see things nice, they say something about it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I've always. I mean, that's what attracted me or drew me to your swag, right? It's like that's bad. It's badass. I love dressing up myself. I do. I have a little bit of a bougie quality to
You
me.
do. You have a fancy hat.
I just don't. I just need to do it more.
we
So it's
both wear
special.
Stetsons.
Okay. but I'm on the other end, meaning I feel, and I'm not saying this is right. I'm expressing my problem personally. I feel that by dressing humbly, I'm a more welcoming person, and I'm more a salt of the earth, less arrogant human. You know what I mean? My swag is to be as humble as possible.
And it comes across that way.
Oh, okay.
You're very
okay.
welcoming.
Okay, all right. But maybe I should buy new clothes.
But that wouldn't be you.
Okay,
You can't fake the funk.
okay. I'm going to stay on my trajectory, and I appreciate you encouraging me
As
to
they
do
say,
that.
stay in your lane.
I'm just going to stay in my lane. Well, so answer me about music. What should I be listening to? What do you listen to? What do you think fits fits your swag?
I like it all. I mean, obviously, I've been heavy into rock lately, having gotten introduced to Chuck and The Who.
Okay.
Become pretty good friends with those groups.
Wait. You're friends with the Who?
Man, they're a cool group, man.
Okay. Okay. Now you're
Gala and the
just
Kang.
pulling my leg.
Yeah, no, you ain't see my post?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Take a check. My friends Gala and the Who band.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll hook you up on some tickets.
Okay. So 70s rock.
No, more modern rock in
Oh.
terms of. I mean, my love is R&B, rap, that kind of thing. But
Modern
I listen-
rap, 80s rap, 90s rap.
mostly modern rap.
Okay.
I mean, I grew up. I'm part of the rap scene, so
Well, how are you part of the rap scene?
I mean, because I grew up in the rap era. I'm a
Got it.
'60s baby, so I saw rap come into
Sure.
fruition. Beatboxing and all that stuff. We used to do that.
Who should I listen to today? A recommendation.
WizKid is who I'm listening to right now.
WizKid.
Yeah, WizKid. But I'll tell you, recently I was doing a search of the 5 scariest songs because it was Halloween, right? And of course, Alice Cooper's "Steven" was number 5 on the list that I was looking at, which is a pretty cool song. But I got exposed to a song by Korn called "Daddy," and man, guess I say a shout out to all those that have been abused in the past. There's people there to support you because that's a pretty deep song. And
I think
shout out to Korn for
they
pushing through.
That they banned that song or something, that it was traumatic.
Man.
Because it's in a song about abuse.
Yes.
I think it cut too close to the bone for some people. And
Right.
yeah.
Which is the complete opposite direction that it should have gone, right? Like, should have been celebrated, not banned.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. In the right context. But, not to go deep and dark.
Yeah,
but
we don't want to go deep
shout
and
out
dark.
to Korn for doing that for us.
You mentioned just a little bit about where you've been with your motorcycle. Have you been in other shows? Have you been to Trog or?
I haven't been to Trog. Well, I would say that, Mama Tribe put me on the scene. First, shout out to Mama Tribe. Love y'all. Be there to the end. Whatever you need, I got you, baby. After that, Randy Hayward, Detroit, invited me to the Damn Show.
What shows? Where is this?
Detroit Antique Motorcycle Show in Detroit.
Detroit DM show. Got it.
Damn right.
I should know this.
Yes.
And what was the show? You were there? Or
Yes.
It's coming up. Okay, so what's the scene like? What's
It's kind of a warehouse scene. Kind of grungy vibe. Hard rock band. Bikes chosen to attend the event, very much like you guys do. Good people, free to the community.
after parties, beer?
No partying like you guys party. Ain't no party like a Mama Tried party, let me tell you. You ain't been to Mama Tried, you need to get here.
What, Born Free?
No, I haven't been to Born Free. I hope to either be invited or take Blackula out there and see what people think.
Would you drive out there or in a car, or would you drive
Whatever means necessary.
Have you been on you got miles on the bike? You've been on road trips?
Oh yeah, I've been on road trips, but I wouldn't ride Blackula out there. I would trailer Blackula. Not a trailer queen, but I'm not putting those kind of miles on there.
Sure. Well, where have you been on a motorcycle?
My longest ride was recently here to Sturgis a couple years ago.
Yeah, it's a good trip.
That was a good trip.
You stay on the highway or you take the byway?
We took the highway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a hard ride, me and the wife.
We'll next time we go, you ride with me.
All right, I'm down for that.
You gotta be open minded.
Oh, hey, I'm open-minded. That's what we do, right? I can pack a tent.
All right.
I know some people along the
Well, no,
way.
you guys, you're fancy. You stayed in hotels.
I probably should have stayed in tents, to be honest with you.
Why?
Some of them hotels were not cool.
I didn't even know. I assumed you guys stayed at like chained motels.
Yeah, but you're pretty out there in the middle of nowhere. A chain hotel doesn't mean that it's nice.
Right.
You know.
I actually went to school in South Dakota in Vermilion at the university.
Well,
So I know that area.
Is this travel because your father was in the military?
No, just managing my career.
Your career as what you do with
Employee relations.
Employee relations. So are you independent? Do you work?
No, I work for a company called Sodexo. We're about 125,000 strong in the U.S.
And you get a call that says, hey, we've got a high profile case in Sioux Falls, and you go there and you investigate, or you negotiate.
I'll go there and investigate it, or investigate, via WebEx remotely, and provide a recommendation.
You're doing that currently.
Yes.
Yeah. And I want to go back too. I made this assumption. I'm assuming you live in Milwaukee.
I do live in Milwaukee.
Got it.
Bruce City, Pigsville.
Is that the name?
I've never heard that.
You don't know where Pigsville is?
No.
You know where Miller Valley is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. AKA used to be Pigsville.
Why? Because of there was
That's when they
slaughterhouses?
kept the hogs?
Yeah, back in the early 20s and stuff, they used to have a lot of hogs and stuff down there.
And off the trains or like the depots and whatnot.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Like
kind of like by the skate park, like
stockyards.
Potawatomi, or not Potawatomi, like Miller Park area, kind of.
Yeah, kind of go on the north side of 94 and then go down to the valley. In that area, it's
Okay.
Pigsville. So I got a hog in Pigsville.
Okay.
2 hogs, actually.
Let me go back to Sturgis. We were just in Sturgis, and I'd been there a few times, and I don't want to say anything offensive because it is what it is, and for me to judge it is not my place. But how can we make it young? I guess is how can we put something in it that'll make it last?
Well, it'll last. I don't know that it'll be young. I mean, when you think about, Sturgis, in my opinion, is really like a hog event, right? When you think about hogs and baggers and choppers, most of them are older cats, right? So, the way we get it youthful is get some of these kids in some of these training programs, get them into these shops like you guys got, train them and get them interested, and then they share that with their friends, right?
Sure.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
Because I
Or
found
they grow up in families with riders.
sure.
Right. Like, who knows? Is that a thing? Is that growing or is that dying? What's happening?
With the
Just
trains.
motorcycles in general.
I think it's growing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know in my community, in the African American community, you didn't used to see a lot of people interested in vintage bikes.
Yeah.
You seeing more and more of that now. One,
So
because we have the capital, and now there's
Sure.
the interest.
As their main mode of transportation, or just their second or third?
As a second or third, but it's still getting exposure.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of bikes that get passed down.
Sure.
We're going to pass an FLH down before we pass that street glide down.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, so that you foster the motorcycle relationship with
There you
whoever
go.
you foster it with.
It's like my
Your
grandkids.
kids,
My
somebody
granddaughter,
else.
first thing she
Wait,
said
were
is,
you your granddaughter?
I want the FLH. My son said he wanted the other one. And she's younger.
They're already
She
cutting
got
you
the
up.
better deal.
They're already cutting you up. You
I
haven't
told
even-
him choose in case something happened to Papa. Let me know. No fighting.
You have grandkids?
I have 3.
Wow.
Oldest is 15.
I want to go back to your comment. You said that you think it's growing because you've never seen more African American people with vintage motorcycles. Could that be also just a byproduct of the connected, what the internet has done per se? Meaning they've always been there. It's just that they've been isolated. Or do you
I think it's a little bit of both. When you think about, I think I see more bikes on the road than I ever have. And to me, that's where the real proof is, the rubber on the road.
Sure.
We can say what we want about bike sales and stuff, but, no, people aren't buying new bikes. They're taking old bikes and fixing them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I bet you if you look at the numbers, you add about 30%. Add 30% to that because that's what's happening. They're taking their old bikes, they're fixing them, or they're buying used bikes.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Warren, but isn't that kind of what Mama Trida is doing? Is celebrating the young people that are chopperizing?
Well, that's part of it. Yeah, that angle is played for sure. But we also want to shine a light on everybody else within the motorcycling community,
Sure,
whichever
sure.
community it is. Right? Like we've said it time and time again. It's about bringing folks together that have a similar interest, but may have been in a different lane.
Right.
Right? Like a Haint.
Sure.
Yeah, I think about the little mini bikes that you got, and, snowmobiles turned into bikes.
Yeah.
That speaks to inclusiveness.
Sure. Let me go deeper then on that. We put the vibe out there that everybody's welcome, but there's light like Batman, but not everybody comes. There are many subcultures, the Latino culture, the African American culture. We've reached out. How do we get more people involved in these subcultures, in these racial subcultures, if you will?
I think you keep asking and you keep exposing yourself.
Okay.
This is one of the top shows in the country. Everybody knows that. And there's more people that want to be involved than you might know. It's just knowing who those people are.
Sure.
Right? And that's where, getting new cats like myself. I wasn't into this game, but there's a lot of people that are getting exposed because I'm into the game.
Sure.
Right? And so, that happens with all of us.
Well, go
I've
ahead.
been kind of noticing that it's like with the Latinos and the Black communities, in outside of the Caucasian things, like it might not be a thing of like coming to events like what we have going on. So like exposing folks to that and getting them there, it'll be like a slow roll
Migration.
and then it'll just kind of flourish into something. So it's not pushy, not whatever. It's being inclusive and having open arms or doors or however you want to put it, right? And letting it happen naturally, because you try to force it, everybody looks like an asshole.
Sure.
No, it's all about being visible and being who you are. And you guys, Mama Tried is genuine. You walk into the show or you talk to people that have been there, this is not one of them like check the box kind of shows. This is good people having a good time that's saying, come be a part of our family. We have invited you because we dig your swag. So come be a part of this community. And I haven't talked to anybody that doesn't want to be a part of this community.
Well, there's two things now I want to challenge you on. When I go into Throttle Twisters, you know Throttle Twisters?
Yeah, I do.
And I'm like, hey, I'm with Mama Tried Flat Out Friday, move out the way. They say, who? What? and that was the slap of reality that I think Warren Scott and I felt. Like, hey, wait a minute, man, we're renting this giant arena and the people in the shadow of it don't even know who we are. And so we've been trying to make waves in our own city.
Yeah, it's important to us for that to be a thing. And I don't think we force it. It's just we just keep moving towards and making connections, and I think it'll just happen naturally.
It's like anything else. Relationships takes time to build.
Sure.
And everybody's watching to see what really going on.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And so
you can say all you want.
Right. And people are cautious for obvious reasons. Mm-hmm. And at some point, those that want to be in are going to be raising their hands.
Sure.
And welcoming it. Like somebody like me.
Sure.
Who sees the value in aligning, my dreams with somebody like you all.
Yeah.
You said a check the box show. What's a check the box show? Give me.
I mean, you hear about people that are talking about shows because they're trying to build a trophy case, and it's just something they're contributing to. This is a show about relationships and friendships, and how can we help each other.
Sure,
that's the vibe I took.
Well, Warren can elaborate more on this, but Mama Tried's never been a best of show trophy.
No, hell no. I don't want to take the air out of the room. Scott don't either, right? Like, I was raised going to these events as a, my old man has a shop, right? Like I cut my teeth going to all the events where you'd work towards something, and at the end you get trophies and whatnot. I mean, it's a model that works. It's great, but I think the social aspect should be celebrated rather than what you accomplish when it comes to using, building something. It's just, it takes the air out of the room, and it's not inclusive at all because you can't give a trophy to everybody. I don't want it to turn into T-ball where, everybody gets a trophy, but I think everybody should have a good time, and that's more important to us than anything. So the trophy thing is, I don't know, it's just not our speed.
Well, I'll tell you, the invite and seeing your bike in there is the trophy.
Yeah.
Bold statement.
I mean, really, think about that. Not many people get invited to the event, and when your bike is in that facility,
mm-hmm.
Who gives a damn about a trophy? I want my bike there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Come on, that placard, people standing around your bike, engaging with you.
Yeah. Well, I think I would. What you're saying about it, I think, is the greatest instructional video to anybody that is getting their invite in the mail fairly soon of how to get them to maximize their experience in Milwaukee. And that is because I remember seeing you standing by your bike and just taking it all in, just enjoying it. You drank in moderation, you partied in moderation, but yet you were there, bright and early in the morning, dressed, ready, shake hands, taking photographs.
Yeah, it was my expectation. I'm also representing Mama Tried. I mean, if you guys are inviting me as part of your product distribution, I need to be representing that organization.
Sure.
And so shaking hands, kissing babies, talking about the bike, if that's what you guys want me to do, that's what we as a family should be doing.
Yeah. We never ask deliberately, don't bullet point things out, right? Like, it's your prerogative as how you want to be represented at the show. And some folks some folks pull back and just watch, and some engage, and it's pretty cool to see people engage. And you know, it's I don't know, it's rad. It's just there's a lot of different things going on, and it's just nice to see.
Absolutely. Oh,
Hey.
well, and you talk about the one to be like trophies, but I do have a trophy. Mama tried. That's what's the thing. All right.
And you
Yes, sir.
you wear that to work?
I wear it when I ride.
You don't wear this to work, do you?
I wear this when I ride.
Yeah. Well, you
But I mean, this is kind of my swag for work. If I'm interviewing someone out of respect and professionalism for the role, I'm going to wear a suit and tie, white collar. I mean, it's just etiquette.
yeah.
It's appropriate.
How did you fall into this position? It doesn't matter what the position is. The fact that you're in basically a social.
For the love of people. I mean, my
Bold
first
statement.
job was working for an unemployment agency, helping people find employment. You know, as a teenager, and the first time I saw how gratified a person was to secure a job, I was hooked.
Sure.
I mean, that was so beautiful to see
Sure.
that person's life changed. And at that point, I said I would forever be a steward of the community. And employee relations, human resources, those are the kind of things where you can touch people's lives and change them.
Sure, because I think you've got two assets. You seem to be a really good listener, and then you just have almost a pious, rolling voice. When I hear the words coming out, I almost want to cuddle in them.
Come on over here, baby.
I'll
I'll read you a story.
Almost a radio. Just your tone and your flow, your cadence is very soothing. Warren, have I been cutting you off at all?
No, man, I'm good.
Am I talking too much?
I'm in a supporting role.
All right, tell me about when you were going back to Mama Tried. You're talking about Mama Tried. What are some other people that you've met that you remember meeting, or some other bikes that were at that show? Because what year are we talking about? You were in it.
This would have been, this is
21?
This is 20.
Well, 20 never happened.
Canceled.
So it would have been 21.
Yeah,
It would have been the
December?
You had two
December.
shows in 21. It would have been
Christmas.
December.
Yeah.
The December show.
Sure.
Well, I mean, there was a lot of bad bikes there. I mean, for me, the choppers are always cool. Lashi, didn't he have a bike there? Is that how you say his name?
I don't know. What
Hawk Lachey.
Hawk Lachey.
Yeah, from Vintage Technologies.
what city?
He's
Colorado,
out-
isn't he?
No, Montana.
Montana.
Mm.
Yeah, he had a couple nice
Unbelievable.
rides there, for sure.
I geek out on his videos. You see the video of him welding the chain and polishing his fucking chain?
No, I hadn't
It's
seen
like the
that.
antithesis to what I do, right? Like you see me out there fucking with the dirtiest, nastiest oil tank because I just like the way it looks, and he's like, man, this chain's gotta look perfect. And he welds every single link, polishes it up all smooth and
Why does he
dome
weld
like.
the links?
Because that's his thing.
That's his thing.
And what's the chain moves? I mean, what
Yeah.
is he?
It's a custom chain. Yeah.
So he's like stamping the links.
He's welding each individual link. You know how they're pressed together and it has a little nub?
Yeah.
He welds the nub up and then polishes it to a dome. So the whole thing looks like a polished dog bone. The whole chain, both sides.
Ain't nobody got the time, is what I would say.
Well, Hawk does.
He does.
Oh man, that's swag.
Yes.
Yeah.
A whole different level. I mean, and there's levels to it, but they're all equivalent. I mean, you think about a guy that builds something like that. Like say you can take a ratty knuckle, and they're both super cool.
Yeah. Yeah, you can put them right next to each other and
Boom.
and both have both get respect from both angles.
I met when we did a race. We started our season early May, Biker Fest here in Milwaukee. Were you there? Did you see that?
No.
Put on at the Fond du Lac Market in the center city. It's always a little bit chilly, but we tried to get the neighborhood to come out and to see if there was any motorcycles in the neighborhood. A bunch of kids, meaning 5-6 kids, showed up with hand welded, blobbed up, almost kind of parts from shopping carts, with a TV monitor, and it was, to me, Scott, you got to ask these guys to be in the show because I hear what you're saying. It was swag at the same level. I mean, yeah, you could stratify it, meaning it was a beginner level of welding and whatnot, but the
Stoke.
the stoke, yes. that they came to that fest with bicycle tires and a pull start motor, and I'm sure it had a little wiggle to it.
Right.
That's how I started.
And that's how it begins. And those are the kids we have to nurture
Yeah.
because they want to be there. You don't have to force them to come into the shop or come to class.
Yeah.
You can see it.
So I'm recommending it. I know you guys are probably pretty full for coming.
Find
up,
them.
but I want to find one of those kids.
Find them. Yeah,
All right.
I'm down to support and nurture that relationship for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Any kid that puts forth that kind of effort, I'm in.
Right.
So is Scott.
And Scott, why don't you give me, or sorry, Warren, why don't you give me a little more techie stuff?
What you mean?
I feel like I'm dominating too much on,
Okay,
on
gotcha.
the culture. Why don't you ask a
all
little more about his
all right.
motorcycles?
So what? So that FL you have that's in the museum that we had at the show that you showed up with in your mink coat and them gauntlets. Where'd that thing come from?
The FLH?
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually bought that bike from a dairy farmer in northern Wisconsin. He bought the bike new in 77.
It's a 77.
Yep, it's
Cool.
a 77 FLH. And he bought it new, and he rode it only on Sundays because that was his day off for farming.
Yeah.
And then I've had it now 3.5 years. About 10 years, 15 years ago, he stopped riding,
Mm-hmm.
and he just set it up.
Well, how'd you find it?
I got wind of it through casual conversations like this. Guys
Sure.
talking about, I know where this cool bike is, and they knew that I was looking.
Yeah.
So I went up, courted the guy for about 6 months because he was reluctant to
I know
let it
that
go.
game. I know that game all too well.
And then finally called me up and said, "Hey, man, I'll sell it to you as long as you don't chop it."
Sure. What condition was it in?
Same condition it's in
beautiful.
now, but I've accessorized it with all Harley accessories, but it was bone stock when I purchased it.
Well, that was my next question. Is man, the Blackula seat trim or whatever you want to call that is beautiful.
Yeah.
What's the history on that? Where'd that come from?
Yeah, the seat rail was produced by a guy named Ernie Barkman in Athens, New York, former union welder. Used to do a lot of welding and stuff like that back in the 70s. Kind of the northeastern Ron Finch.
It's like the quintessential 70s black motorcycle club piece that you'd see on everybody's bike. It's like your favorite jacket or your necklace or however you identify yourself. It's like the crowning jewel of any motorcycle from that period. Now it's pretty cool to see. And when you see a new piece come out that was created from a dude back then that was doing it back then is pretty cool.
Right.
Right, like for you to find that guy and make it happen is pretty special.
Yeah, social media is a powerful thing, and when it comes to that cycling community, once you're in the community, there's always someone willing to help you. And he didn't hesitate when I said, "Here's what I want to do." He's like, "Let's work on the project."
Cool.
Made it happen.
You said Ron Finch too, man. It is very, very Finch-esque.
Yeah.
He's got his style with his like skinny wireframe
Right.
scenario. But I don't know, man. I've always been drawn to the dressed out FLs from the 60s and 70s with all the doohickeys and thingamabobs and radios and fucking lights and balls, and I love that shit. And then to watch them in the old videos, like they go into the grass and like dance with them, right? Like it's a 450-pound motorcycle that they're holding on with one hand and doing donuts in the grass with them, and like standing on the seats and riding backwards on the handlebars. It's burned into my brain whenever I see that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's cool too. And for me, I would see these FLHs dressed up Coney Island style riding through the cornfields of Iowa at night, when the sun was setting. And then sometimes you wouldn't see the rider, but you hear the clack, 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 and you see the lights.
Yeah, they put them big ass extension on the pipes, and all the fuel just loads up in them.
Telling you, it's like Christmas in June and July.
Yeah. There every once in a while, cool ones pop up. People find something in the garage and pull it out. And there was one. I think it came from the Detroit area that our buddies found. Jake from Prism found. Unbelievable. I mean, you couldn't fit anything else on that thing. Like every inch of that thing was covered in tastefully. It it wasn't. You know, you've seen some bullshit.
Oh yeah,
You
for
know,
sure.
but like it was like whoa, and it was special, and it was like a part of the family. It was probably like a kid.
You talk about liking balls and stuff from the '70s. Got a friend in Columbus, Rufus Smith. I think he's got a '72 FLH, a blue one, with 250 balls on it.
Well, you need to hook us up and
What
make
do you
sure that
balls
thing
on
gets.
it? Like
Little round balls.
Yeah.
are they like dingle balls?
No, they're like it's like a trailer. It looks like a trailer hitch
Trailer
ball.
hitch almost.
And how what's the diameter?
All different.
They're all different, but his are probably inch and a quarter.
And they're screwed in, they're welded in.
Yeah,
Screw
both.
it.
I mean, it's wild. It was a thing, right? It's like to accessorize your FL with these trinkets and doodads, and there's like they make these light extensions that have like acrylic pikes in them. That so when you light up down here, it lights up and
Lights
has
up
like,
too. Yeah, almost like curb scrapers with
yeah,
lights.
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
yeah. And they were on springs, you know.
Yeah.
And then the balls and the pikes, nuts, and the they always had like 8-track players and the big like the Blackula seat trim and like big shit, right? Like big trim around your seats and
Oh, yeah.
all the bags are covered. The exhaust pipes are extended. It's cool.
I know this the FLH. Does it have a passenger seat on it? Is it?
It used to
Or is
have
it-
a flex comfort seat, but I converted it to a solo.
Yeah.
So it's a buddy seat. You got to
Yeah,
put
buddy
the
seat.
helper
Yeah.
springs on it and you're nuts to butts.
I want to ask you guys one word that I'm a little unfamiliar with. You knew what you were talking about, but that's courting. So you courted this farmer for 6 months.
Yeah.
So how does he not know that you're? How does he? Do you want the person that you're courting to know that they're being courted, or do you pretend like you're not courting them when you're courting them?
Well, it becomes courting after they say no first.
Okay.
And then when you
Everybody,
keep going
yeah.
back,
It's if you call or text once or twice, it's courting.
it's courting.
Okay.
There's no going back. Whether you use that term or that description, it is what it is.
Okay. So you
Right?
hear about it, you go, you knock on the door, hey, and you know it's going to be the long game.
You step back,
Okay.
down off the first step, and you wave.
You wait and you wait. Here's my name and number. Oh, by the way, we got somebody in common. Do you know John? Oh yeah, I know John.
Any which way possible, you can find a way to crack the nut. You do it.
Oh, my dad was in Vietnam too.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm from the fields of Iowa. I know all about farming.
That's right, country
John
boy.
Deere.
The tasseling corn and raising hogs, sir.
Yeah, this is over 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. We mentioned earlier today was your birthday. What do you got planned for tonight?
The wife's taking me to dinner, and
Fancy dinner, or do you have a place you like?
well, she's taking me to Benihana's tonight.
Okay.
It's fancy for some,
Yeah,
fancy for us.
Are they going to throw a shrimp in your pocket?
He'll probably try. Better ask permission.
You have how many kids? You said you had 3 grandkids.
Yes, I have a son and 3 grandkids.
So one kid.
1 kid.
Will he be there tonight?
No.
Okay. So it's a romantic night with your wife.
Oh yes,
That's
we're
great.
empty nesters for a long time now.
So a couple drinks.
Probably
Okay.
everything in moderation.
What's your wife think about all this? Does she go out with you, get all gussied up, swagged out?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah?
We're the Franklins,
Oh man, I'd like to see
Blackula
this.
and the Countess.
I'd like to see this
Yes.
because a woman, bold statement, has a larger ways that she can go with the wardrobe. Does that make sense?
Sort of, kind of, but if I got on my club shirt, she's got on her club shirt. If I got on my sweater.
But she could be wearing pants or a skirt. I mean,
She's worn a dress like for the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride. Worn a suit, and she's worn a dress. But if it's like the Harley swag, we're gonna.
I'd like to see this together.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
That's right.
You ever been to a flat track race?
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
I'd like to participate someday. Maybe.
Okay.
There's going to be a race between Lala and Proc. You should come watch that.
Yeah.
And then you can challenge the winner.
I'm gonna have to work on my game.
Come on, let's go. I'm gonna get you into just whenever I'm going or whenever they're around. I'm gonna text you so you can come check it out.
Absolutely.
Because it really is at a grassroots level. It's something that I got into because I got my son into it. So it's that grassroots, like soccer or karate or any other thing you get your child into.
I'm very
It's how
eclectic
we
when
do
it
it.
comes to that. I mean, I do offshore powerboat racing. I do Jeep rock crawling.
Sure.
You
Now,
know.
but even those I think are unaccessible. I think at the lowest grassroots level, flat track is absolutely beautiful.
Oh, it's
And
grungy and
I'd like you to
and
see,
fun.
I'd like you to see
sure.
some of these races where there's literally 21 different classes, of based on age and CC size.
It's where it begins.
For most, for some.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all that I have. That's all. That's it.
That's it.
You got more?
Cheers.
Berries and gin worked out very well.
Well, Freddie. Thanks for your time with us today.
Yeah, man. We appreciate you coming out.
We
Thank you
have
for having
It's been
me.
nice to get a little backstory and
Yeah.
see who you are.
we have a show coming up here, March or May,
February.
April, August,
February.
17th. We're going to be doing a bunch of events building up to that. Please wear your belt buckle. That's your ID. That's your push me to the front.
Street cred.
That's my VIP badge.
Whenever at all these parties coming up here in February, please join us. I wanna bounce things off you. I want to witness what we witnessed during the week of Mama Tried, and see what do you think of this. I really appreciate your perspective.
Yeah.
On your zoomed out perspective.
No,
A
appreciate
lot of this for me. I started this whole thing by saying thanks for what you do, meaning you bring something to the culture. Most people really bring one hand in a pocket and a beer in the other and are just bystanders. You're
Yeah, there's
actually-
a role. There's a role for everyone, right? Like,
Yeah, there is. You're a bit of an agitator, or you stir the pot a little bit.
I represent 414. We are very eclectic, and we do it better than the rest.
And for
I
that,
appreciate that.
you are much
And for that, you're
appreciated.
much appreciated. But why I appreciate this personally is I'm really not that much interested in the mechanics of it. I missed that step. I don't have the welding experience or the chopper knowledge that Warren has, or the modern industry knowledge that Scott has. But I really like the people and the culture and the community, and I think me talking about that, highlighting that, and discussing that is my part to the community that I'm trying to add. So my point is, I appreciate talking with you because it's not intimidating. You haven't one-upped me with Harley parts.
Never will.
You seem to be welcoming of everybody, and I really appreciate it. So the point is, I'm wrapping up here. Coming up in February, please let's make a point to hang out that week.
Absolutely. And what I would say is thank you to the cycling community because they welcomed me with open arms. And if it wasn't for the community, I wouldn't
Well, when
have the bikes that I have.
when I didn't really ask a when. I'm not going to ask you your age, but how long have you been doing what you do?
My wife met Gene and John Davidson in 2016 by happenstance at an airport.
Okay.
And that was kind of my exposure to the vintage game.
Okay.
And that same year, I took a riding course at Suburban Harley Davidson, got my license, and bought my 14.
So
And after that,
you got
I've
into
been
this
in.
relatively late, and
Oh, yeah.
you went deep in
They
the
told
paint.
me go big or don't go at all. So if you buy a Sportster, you're going to end up buying a bagger. So get the bagger.
That's my trajectory. Yeah.
yeah, that's the way it goes. Just cheat code. Start at the top.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, man.
We'll see you soon.
Mama tried.
Thanks, man.